The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. and my mother answered it with shaking hands because the voice on the other end was mine and it was crying. "Mom, please don't hang up," her breath caught. Christmas lights blinked behind her, soft and warm, mocking the panic in my voice. I sounded breathless, desperate, older somehow, like fear had aged me in seconds. "I messed up," the voice said, my voice. "I'm stuck. I need help before morning." She stood up so fast the chair tipped over. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she clutched the phone tighter, afraid the connection might vanish. The voice rushed on, words tumbling over each other, carefully chaotic. "There was a problem with documents. I can't explain everything. I just need you to trust me." Trust. That single word cracked something deep inside her. She asked where I was. The voice hesitated, just long enough to sound real. "Abroad, I can't say more, they're watching." Outside, snow brushed against the windows. Inside, my mother's world narrowed to the sound of my breathing through the phone speaker. She didn't hear the subtle distortion beneath the emotion, the faint digital smoothness layered under panic. "I wouldn't call you like this," the voice whispered, "unless it was bad." She paced the room, tears sliding down her cheeks. Photos of us, birthdays, holidays, old Christmas mornings, watched silently from the walls. Every memory confirmed what her heart already believed. Her son needed her. The voice dropped lower. "If I don't fix this tonight, I won't be home for Christmas." Her knees buckled. Christmas without me wasn't an option, not after everything, not after this year. "How much?" she asked, barely audible. There it was, the question the voice had been waiting for. The number came quickly, precise, reasonable enough to feel temporary, urgent enough to feel unavoidable. "Please don't tell anyone," the voice added softly. "They said if anyone else gets involved, it gets worse. Fear works best in isolation." She hung up trembling, heart racing, mind already moving. She didn't notice how the call log showed no country code. She didn't question why the voice never said my name. She didn't hear the faint echo that didn't belong. All she knew was this: her son had called her on Christmas Eve, and he was in trouble. The bank app took longer than usual to load, and every spinning second felt like time bleeding out. My mother muttered prayers under her breath, glancing at the phone as if it might ring again. She half expected the voice to return, to push harder, to remind her of the clock. But silence can be more persuasive than pressure. She logged in. A warning banner flashed briefly: "Be cautious of urgent payment requests," but urgency has a way of making warnings invisible. She dismissed it without reading. The account details had already been sent by text. Clean, professional, no typos, no red flags screaming for attention. The kind of message that feels official enough to trust when your hands are shaking. She transferred the money. A confirmation screen appeared. Transaction successful. Only then did her body react. Her legs gave out and she sat on the floor, phone clutched to her chest, sobbing quietly so the neighbors wouldn't hear. She replayed the call again and again in her mind, every breath, every pause, every crack in the voice. It was me, she knew it was, or at least she thought she did. Minutes passed, then more. Midnight arrived. The phone buzzed. Her heart leapt, but it wasn't a call. It was a notification from WhatsApp. A family group message: "Me, who's still awake? Christmas movie night." She stared at the screen, frozen. Her fingers trembled as she opened my profile. My photo, my status, home. Her blood ran cold. Another message appeared: "Me, I'm literally in the kitchen stealing cookies, lol." The room felt suddenly too small, too quiet. The Christmas lights hummed softly, indifferent. She called me. I answered on the second ring. "Hey Mom," her voice broke. Where are you?" "At home," I said, confused. "Why?" The phone slipped from her hand and hit the carpet. "No," she whispered. No. I heard her crying through the receiver when she picked it back up, heard the terror she couldn't put into words. When she told me about the call, about the voice, about the money, my stomach dropped through the floor. I told her I never called. Silence swallowed us both. Somewhere out there, someone had spoken with my voice, and my mother had believed it because it was perfect. If you think it's him, comment yes. We sat at the dining table long after the Christmas food went cold, laptops open, phones spread out like evidence from a crime scene. My mother kept shaking her head. It sounded like you, she kept saying, not just similar. It was you. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. I replayed my old voice notes from WhatsApp, years of casual messages, laughing, complaining, tired, stressed, emotional versions of my voice, all neatly archived in chat histories and cloud backups. Then the videos, Christmas mornings, birthdays, random clips she'd recorded without thinking, my voice calling from another room, talking while half asleep, yelling over music, enough data to build a ghost. We searched online. That's when the words started appearing. AI voice cloning, deepfake audio scams, holiday surge. Article after article described the same pattern: emotional urgency, isolation, secrecy, parents targeted. Christmas timing deliberate. One forum post mentioned scammers scraping public videos and old messages, feeding them into voice models that could replicate tone, pacing, even panic. My mother stared at the screen, eyes hollow. So they studied you? Yes, I said quietly. They studied me. We installed Bitdefender Premium Security on her phone that night, not because it could undo the damage, but because it could at least flag phishing links and suspicious messages before emotion took over again. It immediately surfaced alerts, old apps with excessive permissions, unknown access attempts, risky links previously clicked. The voice hadn't come from nowhere, it had been assembled. Once we knew what to look for, the signs multiplied. A neighbor across the street had received a similar call, her niece crying, saying she'd been detained overseas. A co-worker of mine mentioned his father nearly sent money after hearing his voice claim he'd been arrested. None of them had acted fast enough to question it. The scam thrived in that narrow window between fear and reason. I learned about Pindrop through an article, not something individuals install, but a technology used by banks and call centers to detect synthetic voices. It analyzed micro-patterns humans never notice: breath inconsistencies, frequency anomalies, timing errors too subtle to feel fake. The unsettling part, my mother wouldn't have passed that test either. Emotion overrode logic, every time. We locked down accounts with one password, changing reused credentials, securing banking access, enabling stronger authentication. It felt like building armor after the wound, but at least it stopped further bleeding. Still, the question lingered between us, unspoken but heavy. Why us? The answer came days later, buried in my own past behavior. If this story is making you rethink the calls you trust, subscribe, because the next part reveals the mistake that made us targets. It was a holiday video I barely remembered uploading, 3 years old, public, innocent, a short clip of me wishing friends a Merry Christmas, laughing, voice clear and warm. In the comments, my mother had replied with heart emojis. The scammer didn't need more than that. They had linked us. I deleted it immediately, but the damage was already done. We reported the incident. The money was gone, traced through accounts designed to vanish. Law enforcement was sympathetic, exhausted, familiar with the pattern. This will get worse, one officer said. AI removes effort. Effort was the only thing slowing them down. At night, my mother started flinching when the phone rang. She stopped answering unknown numbers. She stopped trusting urgency. We created a family safe word, something no scammer could predict, something never spoken online. Now, if a call ever came again, fear wouldn't be the first test. The word would. It didn't undo Christmas evening, but it gave us something back: control. The scam wasn't about technology, it was about love. AI didn't trick my mother, trust did. If someone calls you in panic, slow down. If they demand secrecy, pause. If emotion replaces verification, stop. Use tools that guard the doors before fear gets inside. Protect your devices with security software like Bitdefender. Lock your accounts with managers like 1Password. And most importantly, never let urgency make decisions for you, because the next voice that sounds like someone you love might not be them at all. What did you learn from this story? Comment below.